Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
Can you explain what the dynamic was like with your then husband and Juan and Sherri together? Like, what was that like?
Well, when I married him, I literally, in my backslidden state, knew that the Holy Spirit was telling me no.
Wow.
I just felt this darkness, but I was determined because I was thinking, well, here now I have a child. Nobody else is going to want me, I felt like he did love me. So, this is going to be our life together. So I ended up marrying him, and I paid for every dark day that I had with him.
Hello there, and welcome to Snacks and Good Company, being brought to you by Redemption Press. We'll talk a little more about them a little later in the episode to tell you how you can write your book, because I know you have one. They're going to help you write it. But right now, my friend Jackie Nickel is here.
Hi, friends.
All right, so special episode because we have my mom, Miss Bev, and my aunt, who is also my godmother, who we affectionately call Nana. This was a good interview.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really good.
But what I do have to do, we agreed on this, right, is to give a disclaimer, right?
Yeah.
So if you listen to this with your kids, I don't know that this is the episode to listen to with your kids. Not because my mom just starts dropping F-bombs or something like that, but she talks about our life, and we had a very traumatic childhood, but yet somehow a happy, joyful childhood because of her and because of her love for Jesus. And I think that'll come through.
Yeah, it will.
Okay, good.
I promise.
But I want to say to you that she will talk about some domestic, violence problems, some drug issues on my dad's part, and all of that. That our story is a little messy, and I just wanted to say that if you are a single mom, you're going to get this a lot. You're going to understand it a lot. This is really going to be impactful for you. But if you have kids listening, I don't know if you want, that for them. So is that a good enough disclaimer?
I think it is.
All right. So let's jump in with Miss Bev. You had great questions for her, and she was really excited to talk to you. So let's start with my mama. Mom, what is your favorite snack?
I really don't. It changes. It varies.
It's grapes.
From month to month.
Yeah, she has
Today
grapes.
it's grapes.
Yeah, she has grapes
and
right
yesterday
now.
it was grapes.
Yeah. So, okay. So grapes.
It varies.
The McFlurry. What is that?
Nana introduced me to that.
Yeah.
It's chocolatey pretzel McFlurry.
Uh-huh.
Chocolatey pretzel McFlurry, yes.
Okay. So chocolate McFlurry, I've seen you enjoy that.
Ooh, my goodness,
I've heard
yes.
you enjoy that. So I know that that's important. All right. So let's go to some Jackie questions.
All right, Miss Bev. I am excited for everyone to get to know you a little bit more today. I wanted to start off by asking if you can just give us a picture of what it was like as a mom raising your two young children.
The picture at times were bleak.
Can you explain what the dynamic was like with your then husband and Juan and Sherri together? Like, what was that like?
Well, when I married Bill,
We about to get sued.
it's truth.
Yeah, go ahead, Mom.
When I married him, I literally, in my backslidden state, knew that the Holy Spirit was telling me no.
Wow.
I was so, if that's a word, grieved. I just felt this darkness, but I was determined because I was thinking, well, here now I have a child. Nobody else is going to want me, I felt like he did love me. So, this is going to be our life together. So
This is the best I'm going to have.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So I ended up marrying him, and I paid for every dark day that I had with him.
How long were you married?
For when I divorced him, it was like 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
While you guys were married, did you feel like even though you were married and, you guys were living together and everything, did you still feel like you took on the mom and the dad role? raising
yes.
your kids.
Most definitely. And I must say, even though we were married like 17 years, we only lived together maybe about 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
Because for the most part of that time, we were separated.
He was in and out.
Yeah.
What was he like as a dad?
We're about to be sued.
We're going to get sued, y'all. That's going to be the title of this series. We about to be sued. He was a very broken man. And they always say, hurt people hurt people. Mm-hmm. And so I will say that whatever brokenness happened in his life, his childhood, whatever he went through, that was definitely duplicated in our lives. And so, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have a strong mother. Mm. If I didn't have a mother who was so adamant on us knowing who the Lord is. People with fathers like that end up in really bad situations because it's trauma. It's trauma, and it's trauma every day. Mm-hmm. And so, and even if he was in and out, and that made it worse because you'd be okay, right? And you're like, we're all gonna be all right. It's like we made it.
Right. And I'd take them back.
Yeah, and then as your life is like that again. Like someone asked me, what would I tell my 12-year-old self? And I would say to her, Dad's not there. Like when we get to wherever we're going, Mom lives with you and Dad's not there. Mm-hmm. And that 12-year-old would be like, okay, well then we're going, because it just always felt like this dude is coming back. He's coming back. And so it was a very difficult life. And there's really no other way to put it.
He sold drugs.
Okay.
And then he began to take the product.
Oh.
Drugs. And then the selling of the drugs was bad, but when he began to actually take drugs, it was worse because then he's selling things like he stole my son's, they had a fundraising for the school.
Oh, no.
And he stole his money. I had money saved up for Christmas, and he went in my purse and stole all of that money. And so we had to scrounge around. If it hadn't been for my sister and my dad and them, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
It was things like that. In this one, I'll tell you this one incident. The people actually came to our house.
Oh, no.
And they surrounded. I saw them come in trucks. It was 2 trucks. And they had people in the back of the trucks. One of the truck. Yeah, pickup truck. Pickup truck. Yeah. And so one drove into the yard, and the other drove like on the side of the building. And then I looked out. I was in the kitchen, and I was washing dishes, and I happened to look out, and I was like, who is this? So then the guy pounded on the door. I went to the door, and he said, is Bill here? Well, he was in the back in the bedrooms. And so I said, yeah, he's here. He said, can you get him for me now? So I went in.
Were you scared at that point? Like you knew
I was a little apprehensive because I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And then, but when I got scared is when he came to the door, and his eyes got as big as saucer when he saw the guy. And he said, man, you gonna come to my house like this? You actually gonna come to my house like this? And so he said, man, where's my money? Like that. So the kids were in their bedrooms. So I went and got them and told them to go out the back door down to my friend's house.
I remember that day.
I was just going to ask if
like
you remember it.
It was yesterday because you could feel the tension in the house. We're still kind of little, so probably like 12 and it's 9. So, but you can feel the tension in the house, and she's gathering us like it's the last time, right? Yeah. Like, and she's like, go to Miss Sherri and Brian.
Yeah.
Go down to Miss Sherri and Brian's house. And we're like, why? And you get out of the bed, and she's like, just go down there and don't come back until I come and get you. And I just remember and we lived in a trailer. So it wasn't like we're in some big house, right. You know what I mean? You're trying to, in the middle of the night, trying to go out the back door of a trailer. And yes, I do remember that. Remember that very specifically.
And I called my sister right away. And I told her, I said, so, there's some people here, some bad people here for Bill. I said, I don't know what's going to happen. Please pray. And I said, call people around, please, and tell them to pray. So then I couldn't hear what they were saying, but the voices got raised and everything. And then the next thing I know, the guy that was at the door told some other guy to get Bill's motorcycle. He said, we're taking your motorcycle as payment, but I need the rest of my money. But right now we're taking the motorcycle. So that's what they did. And so that's what life was.
That's what life was like.
Listen, my watch knows I'm stressed right now. It's asking me if I want to take a breath. Because I'm feeling,
the story.
As you're telling me the story, I'm like, oh my gosh. And this was like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So that's part of the reason why we had to add a disclaimer to this.
Yeah.
Because there's stories like that. And honestly, I'm not doing this like for pity or anything like that. God brought us out and obviously we're fine. But that was a common occurrence. Those types of things were common occurrences in our life.
Yeah. It seemed... it's just hard to imagine that that's what you had to live with all the time.
Yeah, and so when I say she was a single mom, I mean, that person that's there who is, has drug dealers coming to the house and all of that, that's not a dad.
Right.
That's not a father. So
No.
he was there, but he's not.
Like physically there, but...
Yeah, he's not parenting.
Yeah.
He's making things worse. So when I say single mom, she definitely was a single mom. And then who helped her, because you hear in between there, you may have heard someone laughing or talking. It's my aunt. Nana. She's talking a little bit in there. But I wanted to give this part of it. I don't have kids, but I'm a really, 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 really good aunt.
Yeah, you are. I've seen you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am tooting my own horn there. Like toot. I am a good aunt, and I strive to be the best aunt ever. But my template for it is my Nana.
Oh.
And so if you're listening right now and you don't have kids, but you have nieces and nephews, I didn't want to leave you out. I wanted you to know what part you can play in the village. Mm-hmm. And I think Nana is the best to describe that, because she was a part. She was our safety. She was everything, right?
Aunts are heroes too.
Aunts are heroes, yes. And my Nana is definitely one. So I wanted to hear a little bit from her.
Well, when Sherri was born... she lived with us in my mother's house. So, of course, from the time she was born,
You were there.
Yeah. And same with one. They lived right across the alley. So I was always there. After work, I would be so excited because I would come and to see the kids. So I saw them almost every day of their lives.
But we didn't know that she wanted to come to the house all the time.
Oh.
So we had this plan where we had a little piano that had Charlie Brown guys in it. And we would take we knew she got off, or she would come around the corner because we lived above a garage, right?
Yeah.
So we knew she came around the corner when Electric Company went off. So it was Sesame Street and Electric Company. Electric Company came off, and we know Aunt Lenny is coming around the corner, right? And we had these little men. She was going to come see us anyway, but we didn't know. So we'd had these little men lined up on the ledge of the window. And as soon as Electric Company came off, like clockwork, every day we would go and put the things on the ledge and then push them all off. And then sit and wait in the window till she came closer to the house. And then we were like, Aunt Lenny, can you pick up our men and bring them upstairs?
Every day.
We thought she was coming anyway, but we were like, we need a plan for her to get here every day. And so, yeah, we would toss those things off every single day.
Yeah. What was your relationship like with them?
They were the best. I'm getting teary.
Oh.
They really were. And I think they added so much to my life. I never wanted to be married or have kids. But,
But you found purpose in your role as an aunt.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They just brought me so much joy, and I just enjoyed them as kids, as grown-ups. They're just good babies.
Yeah. Did you feel like you struggled along with them as they went through their stuff?
I don't know about struggle. I tried to make sure life was steady for them with me there. Because I always told them, if anything happens...
Yeah, call me,
go somewhere and call me. So I knew if one time I remember they called And she was whispering, and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said to her, "I don't know, they're arguing, they're fighting." And I said, "Do I need to come?" Because, of course, if they needed me to come, I'd come. I didn't care because I felt like their protector in a sense. So she said, no, you don't need to come. I said, "You sure?" She said, "Yeah." Okay, so I would just pray, but yeah, they were my buddies playing outside or whatever.
Or just come and we would just stay there a week or something, or just she'd make us fried Spam sandwiches. It was just the best thing ever.
I'd stay until it was time for them to go to bed. Sometimes I'd bathe them. Sometimes we'd lay down and I'd put them to sleep, and I'd fall asleep before they did. Wait till they were asleep and then put one in his bed, and then I would go home and go to sleep, and the next day the same thing over and over.
That's my Nana. And also my godmother, but we call her Nana. And she was so instrumental in helping us. And so, again, if you're an aunt, I just want you to know that you can play a pivotal part in a child's life. I think I do. I hope I do. My girls are probably listening, so.
Yeah, I think you're not giving yourself enough credit.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, okay, so coming back, this is an episode that I really wanted to be a single mom focused. There's a lot of stuff, if you're not a single mom, that you can get from my mom's story and wisdom and knowledge from that. But for single moms in particular, I really wanted something that you could listen to and share with friends. Maybe you're not a single mom, but you know one, that would be particularly encouraging to them.
Yeah, I don't think that single moms get enough credit.
I don't either. Enough credit or enough, when I say attention, like enough focus on the fact on how hard it really is.
Right, yeah.
Your Aunt Nikki, who we talked about earlier, 4 adult children, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Raised her kids primarily as a single mom, especially in the early years. And she just has so much wisdom about her story. I just think people will resonate with the story. So Aunt Nikki is coming up after the break about all that she went through, some of which you didn't know.
Some of it I didn't. So.
Yeah.
Some of it was hard to listen to.
Was it?
Yeah.
I was looking over at you while we were doing the interview, waiting for you to like chime in with a question or something, but it looked like you were like, huh.
Yeah.
I got questions.
I was like, I got to process this.
Right.
So.
Well, we're going to let you hear that. If you have a single mom friend, share it with them. Share this episode with them because I think it's encouraging. But what Aunt Nikki has to say is super, super special. And it's coming up.
Snatch and good company.
Friend, I don't know you personally, but I believe you probably have a book in you, at least an idea for a book. Or maybe you started writing a manuscript and then you kind of stalled out. Or maybe you already have a book that you published and you just want to relaunch it or create a companion product. Wherever you are on the journey, Redemption Press is awesome. I mean that. Like for all of that and more, they are a Christian-owned and operated hybrid publishing company. So from consultation to community, whatever you need, wherever you are on your writing journey, Redemption Press is here to walk it out with you. I know the owner personally, and Athena is committed to empowering you to tell your story. You do have a story to tell. Listen, don't let fear stop you. That's what happens, right? You get afraid, you think, why me? And then you just let it go. No, don't let fear stop you from reaching out to Redemption Press. I promise you'll be glad you did. Your message is their mission. Redemption Press, contact them right now, redemptionpress.com. All right, we're going to just jump right into it. Aunt Nikki is your aunt.
Yes.
Yes, and four adult kids, but you felt like she was really a spiritual influence in your life.
Yeah, I feel like she took time to talk to me about things and just showed interest in my life. But she gave me the space to, learn things on my own as well. Mm-hmm. But when I did have questions or I needed help navigating some things, like she was the person I would turn to. And she's an aunt that I would hope I could be for my nieces and
Oh,
nephews.
I like that. She, when we started talking about this podcast initially, she was one of the first ones you said, I
Yeah.
would love to talk to my Aunt Nikki
Yeah.
about raising kids in a wise way that honors the Lord. And after talking to her a few times, I understand why you wanted to talk to her. So I asked her specifically about raising kids as a single mom, getting divorced, and her story is just riveting. Vicki, do you remember like a moment, a revelation moment where you're looking at your little kids and thinking, okay, I am now a single mother with little children?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, those kinds of memories are like stamped into your mind and heart and emotions for forever.
Okay.
Really.
Around how old were they when you started being a single mom?
So my son was 1 week away. My oldest was 1 week away from his 6th birthday.
Your oldest? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we separated, we parted ways.
Okay.
And so then I had 5, 3, 2, and like 10 days later, I found out I was pregnant with my 4th child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm laughing, but it wasn't really a time of laughter at all. It was really devastating because who enters into marriage to get a divorce? Nobody does.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And absolutely nobody wants children to grow up without their father in the home.
And to be going through whatever you were going through and then find out you're pregnant.
Yes. Well, you know, I kind of had like a breaking moment, just crying out to God, saying, God, I don't want to be a single mom with 3 kids. And, you know, just a few days later, I found out I was expecting my 4th child, and I was like, not funny.
Yeah.
That is not
I'm so
funny.
glad you said that because I started to be like, well, God has a sense of humor. He's
I
like,
know.
well, you won't be a single mom with 3. You'll be a single mom with 4.
With 4.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's like my lifetime joke with God.
Yeah.
Like, ha, ha. Thanks for answering my prayer.
Yeah. So I don't even know how to ask you how you start to go on that path because like you said, you don't go into marriage thinking this is where you're going to end up. And so you certainly don't have a plan. Was it just like hold on to God, you know, white knuckle, hold on to him every day? Like, was that it? And just take each day as it comes?
Yes, absolutely. Like when you are the only caretaker for babies, I had 3 in diapers. Your life becomes very focused. I had no question when I woke up in the morning, what am I going to do today?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to make sure that my children are fed. I'm going to make sure that my children are clothed. I'm going to make sure that they have playtime and that they have nap time and you know, that they're eating decent food and things of that nature. So your life just becomes very focused and your life becomes your children. And I did have to work during that time.
I was going to ask, how are you sustaining yourself with these 4 little kids? And now you have to work.
When I had to make the phone calls to let my family know that, you know, my ex and I were no longer together, and then just a few short weeks later make the phone call, I'm expecting almost every single one of them told me to quit my job and go on welfare.
Okay.
So in my mind, I'm like, there's no way I'm not going to provide for my children.
Right.
That's the thought process that I made. So, you know, there is a lot of help. You know, there was food stamps. I was on, Medicare or Medicaid?
Yeah. But you continue to work.
I continue to work.
Okay.
And there's vouchers. There's like government vouchers. So I was able to pay a sitter.
Yeah.
With these vouchers. And
do your kids remember? Because we've on this episode we're talking to other single moms. One of which my mom, who was essentially a single mom raising us, and we were talking about how the adult kids don't really remember being poor. Like the mom knows what it was, but do your kids not really even? Does that not really even resonate with them?
Some of them didn't even know that we were poor until they were a little older. But, you know, I've always tried to find free things to do and make them fun, like going to a park, or near us there was like a little pond with ducks and goats, and to go and feed them. Or we established a habit of going to the library every single Tuesday.
Yeah.
And they did that all through their life. So there are a lot of free things you can do. And I just kind of immediately shut down. No, we don't buy candy at the store. If you get the dessert at the home. Like, no, we don't do candy machines. So, they kind of learn not to ask for those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did have a little bit of money, I tried to make a big deal about it.
That's so good. Now, if there's a single mom listening, and I'm sure there are many, many, many thousands of them listening right now, and you could give them one piece of advice in this season. Let's say it's a single mom and she has, 2 little kids or 3 little kids. Obviously, she's going through perhaps the trauma of, not having someone there. Maybe it's a divorce, say, or it's separate, whatever it is. What would you say to her? What encouragement would you give her in this season?
I would just say, well, first of all, I have the utmost respect for single moms who just work year after year after year and go through all those battles alone with their children.
Yeah.
And they're a lot of hard battles. It's kind of easy when they're smaller. It's physically demanding, physically tough. But once they get into those, preteen, teen years, that is really difficult stuff. What I would say is, yes, of course, grab onto Jesus. I had an incredible faith and just knew that Jesus was going to take care of me, that God was going to provide for me. I didn't really worry about my bills because I knew God was going to take care of me. I had a bigger adjustment when we were married, because it wasn't just me and God. It was like somebody else also making decisions about finances. And that was really a greater challenge for me than it was in trusting Jesus as a single parent.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I'm glad you said that about the respect for single moms. I really wanted this episode to have a lot of that in it because I didn't want, a lot of our episodes are like, this is what I did, this is what my husband did. And obviously that's the preferred way. But there are a lot of people who that's not their path, and I didn't want to leave them behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they are heroes. Like when I was a single mom, it was an honor to me to fight life and work and take care of these beautiful people that were under my care.
Yeah.
And when I see a single mom, literally year after year after year, are doing things alone, taking out the trash alone all the time, planning a vacation alone all the time, making sure that there's clothes and food and all the time. When you don't have that one other, nobody else to lean on, and sometimes people don't have anybody to lean on.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't in my life when I was a single parent. My family was in another state. They were loving and caring and understanding, but they weren't able to be there, right?
Yeah.
So I would just say, I think God loves to give us promises when we are by ourselves in situations like that. And, people say, oh, you did such a great job. And I said, it was all tears and prayer. It was all tears and prayer, and bringing my children to the feet of Jesus. And that was really significant to me when my oldest turned 17. And I felt like he was 17 for 3 years. It was such a difficult.
It was a decade of 17.
It was.
Yeah.
And, when you realize that their childhood is over and any influence or control or contribution I really have to giving them a good childhood was over. And, my children as young people, really young, went through a lot of darkness. It was hell for them. It was very difficult to separate from their father and go through that. The verse that God gave me at that time was you brought them to the feet of Jesus. So whatever you did good or whatever you did bad, you chose the good part in bringing them to the feet of Jesus. And to this day, I trust him. I have to trust God on that. As you watch your kids get into their 20s and figuring life out on their own and making their own decisions, it's like, you know what? I'm still trusting you for all of this, God.
All right, that's Aunt Nikki with her words of wisdom for single moms. Usually a single mom, unless like you're Oprah and you're a single mom. Other than that, most single moms struggle financially, right? So here's a little bit of my mom and other moms talking about, hey, yeah, you're struggling financially, but your kids, well, they remember something else.
I was working as a part-time teller, and then Nana would put her money with mine, and we would take them to Busch Gardens,
King's Dominion
in Virginia, and Cincinnati, and I didn't want them to feel that this is all life had for you. It's the projects. One time we didn't almost have enough money to pay the toll. Remember, we was scrounging the bottom of our purse to get off the turnpike.
Oh my gosh! But God provided.
Yes, He did.
I actually remember that. I remember that because we also had to share hamburgers. Yeah. Each of us couldn't have a hamburger, so I remember having to split it. And in those times, like if you're a single mom right now and you're doing those things and you wish you could do more, I want to tell you, I don't hold any resentment because me and my brother had to split a hamburger. What I remember is that these two women put everything together and on the line. They wanted our minds to be expanded. That's what I remember.
My baby was 18 months when we divorced. And so it was scary being a single woman with a wee little. And it was very frightening. And I didn't have really much money. I was working for the government, but I was only a clerk typist and at the time. And so to make my refrigerator look full, I used to get like empty Kool-Aid containers and empty water pitchers and anything that could hold water. Okay. I would, and so I had about 3 or 4 of them at the time, and I'd fill them up with water and put them in the fridge. And so that just made me feel better when people looked at my fridge, that it looked like I had something, but I didn't really have anything.
It was a morale boost. Like you open it up, okay, there's stuff in here. It's not empty.
There's stuff in here.
Yeah.
And so they'd say, well, what do you have? And I said, would you like some cold water? And so those were some hard times which I can laugh about, now, but back then it was serious stuff. And another thing I used to do was buy potatoes, and you could do a lot of things with a bag of potatoes. Yeah. I mean, you can boil them, you can mash them, you can fry them, you can bake them. You can make them so many different ways. And, a bag of potatoes didn't cost that much.
That is a brilliant idea.
Oh, absolutely. I always had ice water and potatoes in any form.
Do you feel like your kids feel like they grew up with a lack of funding, as you put it? Do you feel like they felt that?
No, just like when I was growing up, I didn't realize that we were poor. When I was growing up, I didn't realize we were also lacking funding.
There's a severe lack of funding everywhere, let me tell you.
and so I didn't know we were poor myself, but my girls, I don't think they ever felt it. I don't think they ever noticed it. I don't think they ever knew any better.
You know what? I think that's very important. I think that's very important for moms to hear, because I think there's so much comparison now, especially with social media, and people, we put these lives out there that we actually don't have, right? But it's like, well, look where she's going. Look what they're doing with their kids. Look where oh my goodness. And there's all this comparison, and from what I can see, moms can heap guilt on themselves saying, well, I'm not doing enough.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's important for moms to hear, is when you're in that rat race trying to make sure your kids have this, have that, have that, have that. There, if I'm hearing you right, Lynn, there's something more that you can give them, that the other stuff doesn't matter.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think that I've asked you, do you have any single mom friends, or all your mom friends are married?
I know my sister.
Okay.
She's a single mom. Had my niece at a really young age.
Okay.
So,
some of this resonates then
Yeah.
on that level. Yeah. So my mom here coming up, not coming up, but right now, Miss Bev is going to talk a little more. And you asked her, well, we'll just let you ask the question. And this, again, I want to mention, if you're listening with little kids, my mom's story has a lot of ups and downs and some stuff that you might not want to have to explain to your kids. So just a little bit of disclaimer there. Jackie asks her a question and we go from there and give the story of her being, her life once she became pregnant with me.
okay. Can you tell me a little bit like how you got pregnant with Sherri?
How?
Well, I know how. I know how, but can you tell me?
It's not that type of podcast, Jackie. No, we don't want to. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
It was, I was in a backslidden state, and I was actually going with a married man. And I was just very, very rebellious at the time. And next thing you know, can I say it was my...
Go ahead. Whatever you want to say.
Okay. It was actually my first time sexually being active. And then next thing you know, I was pregnant. And I didn't know how to tell my mother, because I was staying with my mother at the time. I felt like I had a relationship with the Lord, but it was a lukewarm relationship, which was evident by what was happening. So then after I got pregnant, I still was singing in the choir and everything. So once I told my mom, of course she told me that I had to sit down. But I think
Which means you couldn't be in a choir anymore.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then after that, it was like I started being shunned. And I wanted to repent, but it was like the people that I felt that were supposed to love me were like, didn't want to be around me, or was very, like would talk behind my back and, just stuff like that. I could just feel the
Judgment.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Had
the
to
word.
feel like really isolating.
Yes, it was. That was isolating. Yes.
Yeah.
So I still was part of Catherine Kuhlman Ministry, and still part of youth. And I can remember. I don't know. Am I allowed to say his name?
You can, say whatever you want.
Okay. Well, he was a well-known singer all over the world. His name was Jimmy McDonald, and I ended up dating him. And I told him that I was, pregnant. So he said, well, by everybody just acting like I had the plague, he said, well, why don't you come out? He lived in California. He says, why don't you come out to California and I'll take care of you until after you have the baby. So I asked my mom, I told my mom, I said, Jimmy wants me to move out to California with him. And, but I thought, being that he was a well-known singer, was a minister and everything, I thought we were going to have separate apartments. But it ended up being that when I went out there, no, he wanted me to stay with him.
Yeah.
And it's the whole thing it was more things that the enemy had to bring me back into the enemy's camp. Mm. So then I ended up going out with him, and it was just like going from the what do you say, the pan into the frying.
Yeah,
the pot into
the pan or the frying or the.
Well, anyway, so it ended up being worse. So then, even though I was in that state, I knew that was wrong, and I couldn't take it. And I think I was out there for maybe for 3 months or so. I couldn't get a job because, of course, I'm pregnant, and then I didn't know what to do. And I called my dad, and I said, Daddy, I said, this is wrong. I said, I'm not married to this man, and I don't want to be married to him. And I don't want to keep in this sin. I don't want to. And I said, I want to come home. And he said, are you sure you want to come home? And I said, yes, I want to come home. He said, well, then you can stay with me. Mm. He said, I'm going to prepay you a ticket. I want to prepay your ticket, and you just pick it up at the airport, get a cab. He said, I'll send you some money, get a cab. He said, wait till Jimmy's out of town, because Jimmy traveled a lot. He said, wait till he's out of town. He said, and then, you let me know, and then I'll pick you up, and you can stay with me. And when I think about that my natural daddy loved me enough to, when everybody else was shunning me or didn't want to have anything to do with me, he said, come on. It was almost like the prodigal son.
Yeah.
I'll take care of you. And just to know that my natural dad had that much love for me, to do that for, how much more? It just made my relationship with the Heavenly Father so much deeper. So
we're gonna get sued.
So anyway, I ended up having her, and like I said, I was in Catherine Kuhlman's ministry. And the strangest thing about it, now, as big as her ministry and everything was,
let's just say she was a very popular evangelist at the time, and she had a ministry that was worldwide.
Healing.
Yeah, if you Google Catherine Kuhlman, you'll see how big she was at the time. And our family was very involved in the music part of her ministry. Right. So just in case people don't know who she is.
Okay. And that was the first time I brought Sherri to church. And somebody told her that I was there. I didn't even know that I was, that they knew me all like that. So she sent one of her ushers and told me to bring Sherri back to see her. And I was like, wow. I mean, it was all along the Lord was just showing me that he still loved me, and he cared and was reaching out to me. So I took her back, and I remember her taking that blanket off her little round head. She was like, that touched her head like this. She was like, boy, she said, she's going to be really, really a smart girl. Aww. He said, by her,
I had a big forehead, just say it.
Well, yeah. And she prayed for her, and she began to prophesy over her. And the things that she said at that time have come to pass, that Sherri's doing now. Yeah.
All right. That's my mama talking about being pregnant and then everything she went through having me. Was that an interesting story for you? I remember your face when she was talking about it, like, ooh, this is a lot.
Yeah, but like...
Because I never gave you a heads up whenever...
No, and the way she talked about it didn't sound like... I don't know, it just sounded like she handled it really well.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously she had some trauma there, and then Catherine Kuhlman is obviously would be a big part of my past just because of the story she told. So I study her a lot. Please don't write me saying she was a heretic. Okay, that's fine, but
what?
A heretic, like someone who preaches wrong stuff.
Okay,
yeah. I always say every person's favorite preacher is another person's heretic. So it's dicey to bring people up and say, hey, I like, Bishop so-and-so, or I like Pastor so-and-so, because there's always one person it's like, they're a heretic, right? Like, so anyway, coming up, we are going to talk about what's going on the next episode. And then there is a fantastic mom hack. Specifically, if you're struggling financially. I have never heard someone say they did this before.
It's a good one.
It is such a good one. So we'll have that coming up. Welcome back to Snacks and Good Company. I'm Sherri Lynn, and my co-host Jackie is here.
Hi.
We're starting to get just a little hangry. Do you
get a little bit.
Do you get hangry?
No, my husband does though.
Does he really?
Yeah, but you'd think after all this time of being together, I'd understand when he comes home grumpy or something. I'm like, maybe
it's the food.
I should probably figure that out by now.
But you don't?
No.
He comes in and you're like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
But then you give him a plate
and then he's
of food,
hungry and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
And then he eats and he's fine.
Yeah. And then it's like nothing happened.
I don't know if I get hangry. I just get, it feels like drowsy.
Yeah.
Like where it's like, I can't do anything. I gotta take a nap. And then I'll eat something and we're like, hey, let's go to the park.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how
I am.
That's how we're feeling right now, everybody. So we do not have our snacks here. Jimmy is here. Jimmy, say hi off mic. Okay, there you go. So
he's hangry.
I was a hangry high.
Yeah.
But he was like, why don't y'all have no snacks in here? The name of the podcast is Snacks in Good Company, and there's no snacks in the studio.
Yeah, we didn't deliver.
No, we didn't think about that at all. So anyway, next episode, guys, of Snacks in Good Company, we will talk about how do you disciple your children. That was a specific question that you had.
Yeah.
How do you raise your kids to love Jesus?
Yeah, I that's what I wanted to know, because I mean, we were exposed to Jesus and going to church every once in a while, but I don't really have any memory of like being like applying things
As a kid.
Yeah, so I wanted to know how moms did that so I could do that. Work on it.
That's wonderful. So next episode is going to be like a real rich, full episode of voices, because we'll go back to the moms at the round table, the young moms, you and your friends.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they'll talk about discipling kids, and then we'll hear again from Tammy Hamilton. She'll talk about it. My mom will talk about it. Your Aunt Nikki will get into it. Some of the callers. There'll just be a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom on the next episode. Hopefully all the episodes, guys, have been wisdom filled. Oh, I forgot this mom hack. Let me put this here real quick. I've never heard this before. If you're struggling financially with your kids, and who isn't, this mom hack is key.
I used to buy like a box of saltines. You could get a box of saltines pretty, it didn't cost that much, but when the kids asked for cookies, I'd hand them a saltine. So for years, they thought a cookie was they thought it, and so when they said, go have cookies, to them, it was just, here's another saltine, and I could afford that.
That is a brilliant mom hack. A saltine as a cracker. All right, saltine as a cookie, rather. I wish someone would have done that for me just for weight purposes.
I was curious to know, at what point did the kids figure it out?
Oh, yeah, that we've been duped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that everyone else is eating chocolate chip cookies and we're eating saltines like
or they go to
cookies.
school and they're like, you guys want to trade cookies?
And they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's my cookie, and it's a saltine.
Yeah.
That's very, very, very good. Try it with your kids at home and let us know how it goes. But, all right, we'll see you on the next episode. By the way, just a reminder, if you like this podcast, we sure hope you do. Make sure you subscribe. That helps us a lot. You know what else helps? Rating us. A nice rating, if you would. A nice rating, just something nice, okay, guys? You can rate us, comments, all of that really helps us to kind of get out there. I think this is such a blessing for moms, and that's why we did it. So please do that. Share it with a mom you know that may need some help, may need some encouragement, may need some snacks, whatever the case may be. This is presented by Purposely, produced by yours truly. Sound design by Lauren Tone Kirkland. Music by Matt Mason of Mason Haven Music. Art design by Notoria Marketing. Social media by Chanessa Schuller. Multimedia photography by James Brunson. And we recorded the majority of this podcast in the Christian FM studios in Vero Beach, Florida. Until next time, thank you, friends.
Snacks in good company.